Hi, this is Dan Eisenberg again. This is the next segment in a series of video segments on scaling up your business venture as an entrepreneur. And as if you've watched some of the previous videos, we've introduced something we call the 3Cs scale-up model. The 3Cs consist of customers, capacity, and cash, and how they all interrelate. The notion being that if you can scale up those three, you've gone a long way to scaling up your business performance. And so now we're in capacity, the second C. As you recall, each one of the C segments is broken into two parts. The first part is assessing something about your own capability in that particular C. And this, in this case, is about your own capability in expanding capacity. So ready? Here we go. So imagine, this is a thought experiment, that you're in a spaceship from Mars landing on the Earth. And the Earthlings have told you that we have two groups. One group has really effective leadership, and the other group has really ineffective leadership. And they're asking you to identify which group is which on the basis of what you see. And you sort of peel open the top and you look inside. And the question is, what's the difference in terms of what you can see from the outside? What's the difference between a group that has great leadership and a group that has poor leadership? So think about that for a minute. So here's my answer. After boiling down a lot of research and a lot of theory of leadership, in a group with good leadership, the outcomes of the whole are not just the sum of the individual parts. There's something bigger. By the way, I didn't tell you that my academic training is in social psychology, and I spent years of my life observing leadership in real groups and writing, doing research about it, and publishing on it. This was, of course, close to 40 years ago now. So it's an area that's very dear to my heart, and I published a fair amount about leadership in small groups. So that's the outcome. That's how you know the difference. But how do you get there? That's more complicated. What are the behaviors that you need to see that actually create effective leadership? And that's kind of like the Holy Grail, isn't it? So again, I'm not going to give you everything, but I've tried to boil this down into 5 very elements or elemental components that make up the behavior of leadership. And one of them is not in any particular order. One of them is inspiring and supporting. In other words, if that leadership, the behavior is inspiring and supporting, chances are you're going to get more of this, the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. But the second is, or a second is, setting standards and structuring. So being able to say, I have expectations, you have certain behaviors that I expect you to perform, that's part of leadership as well. Now you can already see that these two components, they're in a little bit of tension with each other. They don't exactly feel the same. One is kind of more warm, the other is tougher. And one of the characteristics of leadership is it's the resolution of contradictory elements. So there's a lot of contradiction that has to be managed in effective leadership. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why not everybody and not every organization has good leadership. Let's see. The third is building leadership culture. Not just you being the leader, but having leadership embedded deep within the organization so there's more of it. And a fourth is taking charge. And again, you can see that you're taking charge. When anybody takes charge in a group, then other people tend, not always, not to take charge. So again, there's a tension here to getting everyone else to take charge and you taking charge. Both are important at different times in different ways. And then sort of overlaying everything is the need to be objective, to be hard-headed, to see the facts for the way they are. And that means also when you make mistakes, when other people make mistakes, you have to be candid about it. And that sort of comes full circle back to inspiring and supporting, because it's not necessarily the best feeling in the world to get negative feedback, even though it's essential, to get disconfirmation information. It's not pleasant, and it feels not supportive sometimes. So again, this is another one of these tensions or contradictions that make up effective leadership. So let's, as we have in the past, in past video segments, let's get out the mirror and let's look at ourselves and let's start asking ourselves some questions about our ability as an effective leader. So this is another one of our little self-assessments with 8 questions. And I'm going to explain. You'll get 8 items appearing on the screen, and you're asked to rate yourself as honestly as you can. This is just for you. It's just between you and your piece of paper. Take out a piece of paper to do this, I recommend. And here we go. So I set high expectations for everyone in my company to perform at a very high level. Or I make our processes in the company very systematic, orderly, and structured. Again, if you disagree, if that doesn't characterize you in your mind, put a 0, 1. If it strongly characterizes you, put a 3 or a 4. Don't overthink it. I make people in our company, and you can say group if you want, or if you don't even have a group now, you can imagine what it'd be like if you're helping to lead a group. Makes it feel inspired and proud. I let everyone know that mistakes are okay. We have to learn from them, but they're okay. I make everyone feel that they're a valued part of the company, that they're not disrespected. I encourage others, not just myself, to exercise frequently and in lots of different ways. I encourage my people explicitly, the people in our company, to disagree honestly with each other, but also they feel that they can speak candidly and honestly with me without regard to who I am and my status. So if you need to, press pause on the video, no problem. I suggest not to overthink it. And then sum up your scores at the bottom, okay? And then join us on the next slide. So let's go one by one. I think that you can see this by yourselves. The block that I had, the element of setting standards and structures, is reflected in the first 2 questions about expectations and about processes. The building block of inspiring and supporting is reflected in the questions about people feeling proud and that it's okay to make mistakes. You don't get punished for making honest mistakes that you learned from. Building a leadership culture is reflected in everyone feeling valuable and also having the opportunity to exercise their own leadership. And then 4th, we're not going into every single one of the elements. We don't have the time. Fostering objectivity and capacity is reflected in these 2 last items that I really encourage. And by the way, it takes work. You have to continually encourage people to be candid with each other and also candid with you. If you're candid, if you encourage and succeed in getting them to be candid with you, that goes a long way to building. Some food for thought. So take your scores and put them on this scale of 0 to 32. 0 is a low score again, 32 is a high score. And I just want to give you a few questions to help you think about your scores. And these are just examples, because why do we do this self-assessment? In order to trigger questions, to stimulate questions and get answers to them. So can you get leadership experience? Because maybe you don't think you're a good leader because you don't have the experience. Is there somebody who can get experience, or maybe take classes, experiential classes that give you the chance to practice leadership? Do you like to get work done through other people, or are you an individual performer that prefers to do things on her or his own? Do you feel comfortable, for example, in a social setting, be the person who suggests, let's go eat here, or let's go do this activity or something else? Are you the person who raises their hand in a lecture when you're not worried about what other people may think of you? Others may be worried. Or if you got a very high score, you still have questions to ask. For example, do you encourage leadership in other people? Do you make other people comfortable exercising leadership and encourage them for it? Do you have people in your group who are better in some way than you are? I had my company where there were 3 partners. I was the founder, and I brought in 2 other partners. And the 3 of us worked for 15 years together. And we were very different. We argued over many, many things, but we had the same values, and we were very different from each other in our skills and our capabilities. And it took me a while to recognize that. Once I did, we became even more effective as a company. Takeaways from this particular video segment: leaders and leadership are 2 different things. Leaders officially designated leaders may or may not have good leadership. But leadership can exist even though there may not be any designated leaders at all. One of your goals, therefore, is to expand the sum total of leadership in your organization so that when the people come from Mars, the beings come from Mars and look, they can see the difference between a well-run and a poorly run group. You know that you're growing when you have leaders of leaders, because that's when you know that leadership is penetrating deep in your organization and it becomes not expendable, which it never is, but it's expandable. So see you in the next video segment.